right. Greed works.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Let's Play Wall Street Raider. I'm RakeM, your host. Last time, we invested in Millennium Pharmaceuticals, Shiseido, and started our own bank. With Millennium, we actually bought 4 different companies and merged them all together into one and eliminated their debt. And we had an unfortunate run with Millennium. It decided to be grossly incompetent and stay that way. We changed the management. We elected ourselves the CEO. And then when that didn't work, we did a restructuring. And while we were doing our interest rate swaps toward the end of last episode, we got some good news, which I'm going to show you because we kind of skipped over it during the fast forwarding through all the interest rate swaps. So we'll get to that in just a second. Shiseido was a better story. We bought it and eliminated some of its debt, but not all of its debt. So its income has slowly been climbing. It's in an industry, household and personal products, and the industry is deteriorating just a little bit, but the elimination of our debt at this high interest rate of 11% has proved to be profitable for us. So at the end of the episode, we actually showed a small profit. We got up to $18.1 billion from our starting amount of $13.5 billion. Now our bank has pretty much languished in Flat City. We put $2 billion into it, and at the end of the episode, we engaged in 368 interest rate swaps that are scheduled to begin in the first quarter of 2019. And we're hoping to see some income from that. So without further ado, let's get to where we stand here. First of all, let me show you what happened last time with Millennium. We received this notice that we had an important discovery in our R&D program. And sometimes that puts the earnings report in the background. So here it is. We were still negative, but we only just made the discovery, so last quarter obviously would have remained negative. But we're scheduled to make $5.70 a share in the coming quarter, and our management is very capable at this point. So that being the case, we need to go take a look at the industry and see what changes we want to make going forward to our management. So here we finally have a positive pre-tax return on capital assets. So we don't need to have quite a large overlay on the R&D anymore. And the industry is growing at 10%. Now I know it's already overexpanding, but at this point with our extra cash, the best thing we can do is to put pressure on the other companies in the industry, drive their stock prices down, and then scoop them up when they become affordable. And by affordable, I mean in the 80 to 90% of stock price to net worth range. So we're going to slow down our R&D and change our growth rate to 10%. And now let's see if there's anybody that's ripe for takeover at this point. And not yet. Not yet. But our pre-tax return has climbed to 21% now that we're not spending 25% on our R&D. All right, so that's good. We finally turned that company around. Now, what I would hope to see with this large increase in our projections is a good return or a good rise in our stock price. It may take another quarter before we get into the 200% range, but it's nice to finally have that turned around and going in the right direction. All right, so it's April 20th. Let's turn the stock ticker back on. And the next earnings report that's due up is Shiseido. Let's go ahead and increase the ticker speed to get this going a little bit faster. And these little charges come up every now and then. They're just random. And they can be both positive or negative. Sometimes it'll say that your pension fund is overfunded, sometimes underfunded. Alright, so let's take a look at Shiseido. It's coming up here. Here we go, $2.38, up from $2. And we've got a lot of cash to pay down our debt. $362 this time. Last time it was $296. So let's take a look and see if we want to up our growth rate or pay down our debt. We still have a good return, and the growth rate is stagnant, so we don't want to up our growth because everybody else is overexpanding. That'll just kill our profit margins. So let's just put it towards our debt, and with the interest rate at 10%, that'll still help our bottom line because it's another $300 million worth of debt we don't have to pay interest on. So our projection next time is 243, and we've gone from reasonably competent to very capable, so that's good too. Before we go any further, let's take a stock of where we are. We have $19 billion in value, net worth for us. We've got half of that tied up in Shiseido. We've shorted Canadian Railway, and that one's on its way to bankruptcy, so we should get full value for it. STI, we've invested $2 billion, and it's currently worth 1.1. And Millennium, we have $8 billion invested. Or actually, that's what it's worth now. It's gone up from what we invested. But let's take a look at Millennium, since we just looked at Shiseido, and see what we need to do. Management's very capable, and we have an increased earnings expectation. Okay, we have no debt, $2,700 million in cash, and the industry supply-demand is decreasing. Now, one thing I notice is that the one that's growing the most, which is Centercore, we gave them a great credit rating, and they're now using it against us. But our bank, SunTrust, is their bank. So we can freeze their lending account. So select the bank and then go to other transactions and freeze, unfreeze. And we can freeze their credit. That will force them to stop growing at such a ridiculous rate. And hopefully that will result in a little bit better market situation for Millennium. So come the next quarter or whenever it is that they have to shell out cash for additional assets, they'll find themselves without any and without any credit as well. So that should help us out a little bit. Next thing is we're going to continue to keep a close eye on this interest rate. If the opportunity comes, we're going engage in some more interest rate swaps. And I'm noticing that spot crude has been climbing. Here's their graph. They're climbing, and with the interest rates where they are, I would expect that this to go down. So we can look at investing in some commodities here. And I'm going to go ahead and do that now. So I'm going to go to buy, sell. And I'm going to do this as me. And I'm going to trade commodity futures, crude oil, and I'm going to sell it. Oh, let's see. Trade futures, crude oil, sell short. That's what I want to do because I don't have any right now. So sell short, and I'm going to put it out as long or as far as I can, because you can cancel these at any time. Okay, so I've just engaged in that, or let's see, 100,000 contracts, that's fine. And I'm going to have to borrow 11 trillion to do it. What happened to the 5%? So when you buy, and you set it all the way out, you only have to put in the 5%. Sell short is different. Let's see. See, I don't sell short very often. I usually buy low. So crude oil, sell short. A commodities trading margin deposit of 5% of the notional value is required, plus payment of 1% commission. I mean, I know it's being based off of this price rather than this price, but still, 5% shouldn't be that huge. All right, well, let's make it 10,000 contracts then, so we don't have to go into debt by too much, because I'm pretty sure that's going to go down. Okay, so we've just done some commodities trading, and we want that price per barrel to go down to make money there. All right, so the next thing is, since we don't have any money to invest right now, let's look at selling something short. So we go to General Industrial Growth Rates, and I'm looking for something with a negative here and low numbers on the left. And Internet Service looks good, although not that good, but it's good. North American Rail, we've kind of tapped out there. All right, let's look and see who is going broke here. And quite a few are going broke. Facebook probably is a good one, or Baidu, either one. Baidu probably, because they've got such a large overlay on their stock price. But either one of these would be good. Matter of fact, we don't have to pay a dividend on Baidu, so let's do him. Let's take a look at where he's selling at right now. 42 was where he's at now, and 48 was the max. And he's trending downward. And growth rate is 9%, and they're growing at well above that. So let's sell him short. Okay, so sell short. Baidu 20%. Okay, and that was 24 billion worth. So that's probably all we can do. We're pretty much maxed out now. So let's turn the ticker back on. See what it's set at. 66. Okay, that's fine. So the next earnings report that comes up, I think, is the bank. And I just missed whatever that was. It was probably the earnings for Baidu, yeah. So here was their earnings report. They earned 51 cents versus last year. It's coming down, and it's going to go down even further next quarter, which is exactly what we want to see. All right, so let's turn the ticker back on, and when the bank's earnings come up, or if the interest rate climbs above 11.5% or to 11.5%, we'll pause the ticker. Once again, our bank made in the neighborhood of 80 cents a share, which is what it's been earning pretty much like clockwork. And I don't think there's anything else that we need to do. The earnings is going to come down for next quarter, but it generally does in the fourth quarter of every year for banks. And when do our interest rates start? They all start in the first quarter of next year, right? Yeah, they all start next year. So hopefully we're going to earn another 80 cents next quarter, despite this projection. And then have a huge jump in January. Or March, as the case may be. But the interest rates are going down now, so that's good for us. So Millennium had a huge quarter. And it's going to go up again, projected. Alright, so let's take a look at the industry and see if we need to make any adjustments. Growing at 10%. We have a return of 12, which is not where I would like it to be, but it's about as good as we're going to get with these guys growing like that. And as you can see, Centercore has brought their growth down from 59% to 42%. And these guys, Organogenesis, has come down. Nope, they're still the same, 25%. So we're going to stay right where we are. Is there anybody that's ready for takeover? Regeneron might be very soon. So let's take a look at them. They've got $774 in equity and debt of $823. So if they come down to like $7 a share or under, then we'll probably be interested in taking them over. All right, so we'll fast forward now to August 18th. this came up, we got a nice little love letter that there was a turnaround occurring under Millennium management. That's always nice to hear. And Shiseido earnings went up again from the estimate of 251. We even beat that. So let's see what cash extra we have. 286, which we can apply toward our loan. And I don't mean for this to sound redundant, but you know, until the industry turns around in terms of the supply-demand situation, there's no point in growing because we're just going to cut into our profit margin. So basically, we're just waiting for these guys to run out of credit before we start, you know, growing ourselves. Now, we're trading at 331% of our net value, so it may be time to start thinking about an exit strategy because we're going to run out of debt, I think, before those guys run out of credit. And at that point, our earnings per month is going to go down rather than up. So let's take a look at what we've spent on Shiseido, which was $36.48. So $36.48. Okay, and we're just going to go ahead and multiply times 5. Rather than the 18%, we'll make it 20, and that's just simpler to just multiply the whole thing times 5. So 182.40 is what we need to get four times our money out of this thing. And we're not that far from it right now. So with this going up again, we made 260 this quarter, 264 projected for next quarter, and that was before we paid off another 200 and change on our loan. You know, if this hits 182, then we need to look at selling it. All right, now let's look at Millennium for the same thing. What's our target price? Okay, so Millennium, we invested $88.28 times 5. Okay, and I think they have 30 million shares outstanding rather than 100 million. So divide by 30. And that's the stock price that we would want to sell for. So we're not even a third of the way there at this point. All right, but we only just got it turned around. You know, this is only our second quarter or coming up for profits. So, but I mean, given the fact that these profits are huge compared to the losses we were enduring, we should be headed in the right direction as far as meeting this target price. It's probably going to take another quarter or two, maybe 3, before we get there, but we're on our way. So 182 for Shiseido, call it 1500 for Millennium. And let's check on our shorting positions. Okay, so Baidu has gone up, but whether or not it continues to do that depends on basically Google continuing to expand at this rate. So if Google keeps going at 50% a year, then Baidu is going to lose money. There's just no way around it. And Baidu can't continue to grow at this rate because they're going to run out of credit. So as long as Google and Facebook and Yahoo all continue to grow at these rates, they're all going to lose money, but we're most concerned about Baidu losing money. So, all right, let's check in on our commodities. All right, so we've made $8 billion so far off of this trade. The price has dropped from 148 when we first entered this to 99, and hopefully it'll keep going down. All right, and the last thing that we can check on is somebody we haven't checked in with in a while, and that's the computer player. So we've run our total up to 37 billion, and he's still at 2.6. He has changed banks, and he is now the president and CEO of Ralston Purina, which is probably a subsidiary of the Delhi Insurance Company or whatever that company is. All right, and so here's the stocks that we own, etc. But this isn't unusual. It's usually like a 10 to 1. I'm usually able to outpace the computer by 10 to 1. And it's just by taking advantage of opportunities and being able to recognize them as opportunities. All right, so let's get back to running the ticker. The next earnings report due up is the bank, which I predict will be, call it 72 cents a share, and then Millennium. I'd like to see what Baidu earns this quarter. Did he already declare? Because this is August 31st. Yeah, he already declared. All right, so bank's up next, and we'll be right back for that. Well, the bank only made 63 cents, so I was a little off from my 72 cent prediction. But the way that it calculates taxes for the fourth quarter for banks is you have to pay a portion of your taxes for the first quarter of the following year in December, or in the fourth quarter of the previous year. I don't remember the exact rules, but the way banks work is they overpay their taxes in December, and then they get it back in January if they ended up overpaying. I don't remember what the rules are for that. If you get the manual, I'm sure you can look it up. It might even be in the help files, but it's just the way it is. And it actually, in some cases, when your bank is big enough, it can create some opportunities. So you can look forward to selling it in December, or buying in December, and then selling off in January when the stock price goes back up from that earnings differential. But anyway, this is the last earnings report before next year, and then next year's January report should be about the same, and then in March it should take a huge jump from all the interest rate swaps. Speaking of which, the interest rate has dropped to 4.5%. And if it drops to 4, we're going to do some short swaps. So we'll keep an eye on that. Other good news, spot crude's dropped to 80. So we're making money hand over fist on our commodities futures here. If this drops below 40, then I'll start buying. I'll cover this position and I'll start buying. But for now, we're happy with what we got. So let's get to Millennium, make sure that they still have a good return. And here it is, over $10 a share. That's what I like to see. And our cash is climbing. So let's take a look and see if there's any companies that are ready to be bought. We could buy Regeneron now, or we could wait, because with these guys growing at those rates, his stock price should come down because his return now is only 4.3%. So I think we'll wait. Yep. All right, Shiseido's up to 152, so just $20 a share away from our target. And they're up next, so we'll just let this run. If the interest rate falls below 4, I'll pause it and start doing some interest rate swaps. And if not, we'll just run through. Okay, no options. If you own 100%, you can't get options because it's all the public shares are in your private possession. So you can only get options if you don't own 100% of your company. But anyway, if this falls below 4, then we'll stop and do some swaps, and if not, we'll just wait for the Shiseido thing to come up. And Canadian Railway just went bankrupt, so we got 100% gain on our short of their stock. And you'll notice that it's no longer in my portfolio because they've gone bankrupt, and they no longer exist. Baidu's still going up. We shorted them at 24 billion, and now they're at 30. So we need for them to drop. Oh, look at this. Interest rate, 3.25. All right, let's look at Baidu real quick, and then I will do some swaps. That's not what I want. Okay, it's still going down. Still going down. But I'm going to slow down the ticker here and enter some swaps. And I will come back after the swaps have all been put in. All right, so the interest rate has climbed up to 5.5%. So our counter offers are coming up above 5%, and that's where I want my interest rate swaps to be, either below 5% or above 10, because that's where the interest rate spends most of its time, is between 5 and 10%. So here's our list of swap contracts. You can see here's all of our long positions, and then here comes all of our short. I managed to get 367 entered while the interest rate was low enough. This one snuck by me before I realized the interest rate had gone up. But one contract isn't going to be a big deal. If I wanted to terminate it, I'd have to spend $3 billion to do that. So I don't want to do that right now. We'll just wait. Alright, so while we were waiting, or while we were going through all this, we had a little bit of news. Fortis Securities downgraded Baidu's earnings estimate. So that's what they're scheduled to earn, which is way down from what they were earning. I think that if you divide that by 3, it's 45 cents a share. So they're cut in half, basically. So their stock price should come down. Right now they're at 49, which is close to their max. But it should certainly come down, and let's just look at the industry and make sure everybody's growing like gangbusters, and they are. So as long as Google keeps growing at that rate, Baidu will continue to come down. But he's running out of money, and so is he. So we got to rely on him now, Facebook, to continue to grow, and Amazon as well. But anyway, with a negative return like that, it should come down. The only problem is the growth rate for the industry is at 16%. So let's look at our tax basis info. He's come down from 30 billion down to 28.8, and we want him to continue to fall, obviously. So we'll see what happens. If it gets above 30, we might go ahead and cover this short position and take the loss. But I'm hoping it doesn't come to that. All right, Shiseido is up to 157. 172 is our target. Millennium's up to 600. 1500 is our target. And STI is about to have a banner year. So let's restart the ticker. Let's change this to 66. And the next earnings report up, I think, is Shiseido in about 10 days. So we're not going to fast forward yet. And Millennium is scheduled to go down, I see. So that should be the same for anybody else underneath him on this list. And yet Regeneron is climbing. So the act of growing at 10% doesn't seem to be helping our case. We may back that off. At least until these guys slow down their growth rates. But we'll make that decision when the next earning report comes out. So let's see what Shiseido has earned for this quarter coming up. $288. So we're still climbing. And we have another $200 million to put towards our debt. Oh, got the wrong entity selected. Alright, so let's pay that back. And we're at 169, so we're moments away from selling it. 273 is the next projection, but hopefully we'll inch above that now that we've repaid part of our loan. And 170, if we hit 172, we're selling. I'm guessing it's going down because our next projection is for a little bit less than what our last earnings were. So it looks like we're going to have to wait a little longer. So if it hits 172, we'll pause, but otherwise we're going to fast forward to January 4th. So here we are, SunTrust, 54 cents. Its earnings have declined just a tad, but it's about to have a banner year. It's January 4th, and I bet this graph is going to be just crazy. It went from 12% down to 3.25%, and now back up in the middle, all within the space of a year. That's just crazy right there. It's very rare for that sort of thing to happen. But you just have to pay attention and make sure that you catch it when it does happen, because look, here's an opportunity we missed. At the end of 2017, probably November time frame, the interest rate went all the way down to close to 3% again, and we didn't do any interest rate swaps. If we had, we would have been making bank all the way this upswing. But in any case, it's at 8% now. And if we look at the projection for the bank, it should actually tell us what we're expecting to earn on the interest rate swaps for next quarter. Now this is based on 8%, so $215 billion on interest rate swaps. That'll make our income per share 218 divided by 50. 215 billion, well, it was 215.8 divided by 150 million. That's what our earnings per share is going to be. That's just crazy. Crazy but good. And you notice our stock price has jumped. So the company is now worth, or the bank is now worth 3,000. But that's about to get crazy high. So Shiseido has now hit 168. And if it starts going down again, I think I'm going to go ahead and sell it right away, even if it's in the 160s. Because it's better to take my profit with a little bit of give back. You know, I don't have to make my 4 times my money exactly. It's better to get most of my money out now than to wait another quarter. Because I'd like to add the money that I have tied up in Shiseido to this 17 billion and do something else with it. Because we've kind of maxed out what we can make off of Shiseido anyway. The supply demand is deteriorating, and I don't see this going up any further. So we're going to turn this back on, and within the next month we're going to let this go. If it hits 172, great. If it drops down to 160, then we're just going to take it and run. Alright, so the next deal up is Millennium. See, there it is, 170. Alright, here's Millennium. And we climbed back above $10 from the estimate, which is good news. And let's see what's projected for next month, or next quarter. 891. So that projection keeps coming in lower than what we made, but then the revised estimate goes up. So, in any case, we're up to 756 and we're trying to get to 1500, so that's halfway there. But let's go ahead and sell Shiseido for 170. We're going to make a nice profit. Yes, I'm sure. We're going to pay the 2.132. And we made a gain of 317%. That's close enough. Okay, and we've given up control. Alright. This negative is most likely caused by the rise in price of Baidu, because it went up at first and we didn't have any cash to cover it at the time, so I think that's why we're negative. And he finally has started to drop. So let's pay off the loan. And now let's check on our commodities. Commodities bottomed out at 60 and is now climbing back up out of the basement. So let's go ahead and cover our commodities and get out of that before it goes up any further. Now if it drops after having covered those. If it drops some more, that's fine. We'll just do a futures, options and futures in the other direction. All right, so we got close to 29 billion in cash, and this is what we currently have in assets. We shorted some stock on Baidu, we own the bank, and Millennium. So let's take a look at the industry for biotech. Centocor has finally come down all the way to 6%. I love to see that. The growth rate has jumped back up to 17. So I think we're fine right where we are. We'd still like to see some of these stock prices come down so that we can scoop some of them up and add them to our capital asset base, but so far that hasn't been happening. But we're in good shape and I see no reason to change it. So, what else we got going on? I guess that's it. So now it's time to look for a place to invest this. We can go ahead and pay our tax. So we're going to owe a total of 4.4 billion. So let's go ahead and pay that. Okay, so when we come back next episode, we're going to see what we get from those interest rate swaps, and we will find a place to put this $25 billion to work. So until next time, guys, this is RakeM saying, have a good one.